Conservative position, my friends. My politics have not changed, but I am reacting to politics that have. And this is yet another example of how the woke invert the very thing that used to make liberals liberals. Olympic surfing exposes whitewashed native Hawaiian roots. Yeah, the Olympics added surfing this year. Good. Surfers deserve to be recognized as athletes. I'm sorry. What I meant to say is, no, that's cultural appropriation. The AP says that for Hawaiians, probably all two of them, including surfing in the Olympics is an extension of the racial indignity seared into the history of the game and their homeland when white outsiders took over their spiritual art form. Or just people having fun in the ocean.
It's not only Hollywood that has become a target of the woke movement. The world of sports has also found itself caught in the middle of these cultural battles. Over the years, numerous athletes and sports figures have faced backlash simply because they refuse to conform to woke expectations. But Bill Maher wasn't interested in following that script. He took aim at the woke crowd with sharp criticism and unfiltered commentary. The result was a moment that many viewers won't soon forget. And as always, if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do so before we jump right in.
Of the opening ceremony was fired hours before the event because they found out there was a Holocaust joke in a comedy routine he did decades ago. Well, you know, context is everything. Obviously, it didn't strike people as beyond the pale at the time. Young people have to stop flattering themselves that they're Nostradamus and would have foreseen, had they been around then, everything that's unacceptable now. And for further context, Mel Brooks wrote one of the most successful musicals of all time around the song Springtime for Hitler.
The woke activists rarely let anything go, and they have long memories. It often seems as though they are constantly searching for their next controversy. They are willing to spend years digging through old tweets, forgotten interviews, social media posts, and private conversations looking for material they can use. The age of the comment doesn't matter, and neither does the context in which it was made. All they need is a single statement, joke, or remark that can be reinterpreted and turned into a scandal. Once they discover it, the outrage campaign begins. Suddenly, an individual's entire career and accomplishments are overshadowed by one isolated moment from the past. That is exactly what happened to this Olympic Games director. Critics searched relentlessly for something to use against him, and eventually they found what they were looking for. Once they did, they made sure everyone heard about it.
We allow the people who just want to always win. Days before that firing, the opening ceremony's musical director was also forced out because someone dug up an interview with him from 1994 where he admitted to bullying classmates as a child. As a child. Remember when your teacher used to try and scare you by saying, "This is going to go on your permanent record"? Yeah. No longer an empty threat now.
They often continue until public opinion has completely turned against their target. The pressure keeps building as old mistakes are revisited and amplified. Nothing appears to be off limits. They dig through years of history, highlight youthful errors, and even bring up things people said or did when they were children. Every piece is used to construct a narrative. Personal growth becomes irrelevant. Context is ignored. The passage of time is dismissed. The only thing that matters is the story they want to tell today. The irony, however, is hard to miss. Many act as though they never made mistakes themselves, never told an inappropriate joke, and never experienced moments of immaturity. They portray their own past as flawless while demanding impossible standards from everyone else. In reality, they never met those standards either.
The creative director of the entire shebang of the whole Olympics got shit-canned because he once made a fat joke in a private conversation. This is called a purge. It's a mentality that belongs in Stalin's Russia. How bad does this atmosphere we are living in have to get before the people who say cancel culture is overblown admit that is in fact an insanity that is swallowing up the world? What a ridiculous crowd. I'm back, not the audience. I'm back. They're still. And that is not a conservative position, my friends. My politics have not changed, but I am reacting to politics that have. And this is yet another example of how the woke invert the very thing that used to make liberals liberals. Snitches and that's not being liberal.
Maher speaks very directly when discussing what he calls the woke mob. He describes them as modern-day informants who are constantly watching and waiting for opportunities to publicly embarrass others. According to Maher, this behavior is no longer about fairness or accountability. Instead, he believes it is about power and control. The goal is to catch someone making a mistake, preserve the evidence, and release it when it will generate the greatest amount of outrage. Maher argues that this mindset is inconsistent with traditional liberal values, even though it often emerges from liberal circles. In his view, classical liberalism embraced tolerance, open discussion, and the belief that people can change over time. This newer movement, however, operates differently. Rather than encouraging dialogue, it discourages it. Rather than promoting understanding, it demands obedience. Maher concludes that what we are witnessing is not genuine liberalism but something much more extreme.
The Press is a real news organization, yeah? So why am I reading this headline? Olympic surfing exposes whitewashed native Hawaiian roots. Yeah, the Olympics added surfing this year. Good, surfers deserve to be recognized as athletes. I'm sorry. What I meant to say is, no, that's cultural appropriation. The AP says that for Hawaiians, probably all two of them, including surfing in the Olympics, is an extension of the racial indignity seared into the history of the game and their homeland when white outsiders took over their spiritual art form. Or just people having fun in the ocean.
It is remarkable how effectively the woke movement can reinterpret ordinary situations. Simple scenes of people enjoying themselves, laughing with friends, or relaxing at the beach are suddenly transformed into political or cultural controversies. What was once viewed as harmless fun becomes portrayed as a statement loaded with deeper meaning. These arguments are often packaged in sophisticated language that sounds intelligent and persuasive at first glance. Yet when the complex terminology is stripped away, there is frequently very little substance left behind. The focus becomes more about presentation than reality and more about performance than facts. The objective is not necessarily to provide clarity but to convince people that an ordinary event deserves outrage. As a result, situations that are fundamentally insignificant are elevated into major controversy.
Of all the violations of the woke penal code, cultural appropriation just might be the dumbest of all. First of all, there are 25,000 islands in the Pacific. How do we know a Hawaiian was the first to stand on a board in the water? It seems like something anyone in any ocean would eventually get around to. And if you're a surfer, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, or in between. You all taste the same to sharks.
Maher argues that many claims of cultural appropriation fail when examined closely. He questions why admiration and appreciation of another culture are increasingly treated as offenses in a highly connected world. Throughout history, cultures have influenced one another through food, music, art, language, and fashion. This exchange has always been a natural part of human development. People adopt traditions and ideas because they respect and value them, not because they wish to erase their meaning. Maher believes that cultural sharing is often a reflection of admiration rather than disrespect. It demonstrates curiosity and a desire to learn from others. However, he argues that the woke movement frequently views these interactions as harmful rather than beneficial. In his opinion, restricting cultural exchange does not preserve culture. Instead, it isolates it and prevents the shared experiences that allow cultures to thrive.
Hawaiian did invent surfing. Should he or she have kept it to themselves? Most of human history is a horror story, but the good parts are about different groups coming together and sharing. It's sort of the whole point of the Olympics, which itself comes from Greece, where wrestling was invented as a way for completely heterosexual men to get to know each other. Badminton has roots in India. Tennis comes from France. Skiing from Scandinavia and Taekwondo from Korea. Judo was appropriated from the Far East and skateboarding from the far out.
Maher also argues that ideas and traditions should not remain permanently restricted to the groups that first created them. Human advancement has always depended on the sharing of knowledge, customs, inventions, and creative expression. These things spread beyond their origins and inspire new generations of people. In today's world, this process happens faster than ever. Technology, global travel, and instant communication have broken down many of the barriers that once separated societies. People can now learn from one another immediately, adopting what inspires them and adapting it in new ways. This exchange does not weaken culture, it helps culture grow and evolve. It allows traditions to remain relevant while reaching broader audiences. Most importantly, it encourages greater understanding between people. Instead of creating divisions through rigid cultural boundaries, shared experiences help build connections and common ground.